So, congratulations on managing to emerge from your medieval nightmare of a haystack. But now, nature is calling, and it's not a polite invitation. It's an urgent shout. You find yourself longing for the comforts of a modern bathroom. Instead, you're met with a toilet situation more adventurous than convenient. No seat, no toilet paper, no flush, not even a resentful plunger in sight. In the 14th century, finding a way to relieve yourself truly feels like a daring escapade. In the world of medieval living, personal hygiene can be quite an adventure. If you find yourself among the common folk, chances are your bathroom is a humble wooden bucket placed discreetly behind the house. Just be careful, as it may already be overflowing thanks to Uncle Wolf Stan, who had a few too many bad turnips the night before. The aroma? Let's just say it rivals anything from ancient scriptures. When it's your turn, you take a deep breath, do your business, and then, here's the catch, you toss it right into the street. Yes, right into the street. There's an old tradition of shouting "Gardaloo" beforehand, a word that translated means "watch out below," though in reality no one seems to move quickly enough to avoid the inevitable. In these towns, the streets act as open sewers, creating a delightful mixture of human waste, animal droppings, and other unidentifiable liquids you'd rather not ponder too much. If you're fortunate enough to live in a place that boasts public latrines, consider yourself lucky. However, it's quite the experience, sitting shoulder to shoulder with strangers in a cramped outhouse where the idea of privacy is just a fantasy and ventilation is merely a concept. Small talk might happen, but be cautious about how deep you breathe. As for wiping, the concept of toilet paper is a distant dream. Most people make do with whatever they can scrounge: straw, leaves, rags, moss, and on particularly generous days, a scrap of wool. Sometimes people forego wiping altogether, which could shed some light on why handshakes weren't exactly in vogue at the time. Now, you might think being in a castle would offer a better situation. Well, it has its perks and downsides. You might have a guard robe, which is essentially a hole in the wall leading straight into the moat. A clever idea unless you consider that any foe might just climb in through that very entrance. Talk about a rather unexpected invasion. So, whether you're toiling in the fields or enjoying a status of nobility, the experience of using the toilet in medieval times is nothing short of a ritual in humiliation. It's uncomfortably cold, alarmingly public, perilous, and always gross. One misstep on a slick stone path could send you face first into the refuse of humanity. And let's not even get started on your dental hygiene. That's a story for another time. You've braved the toilet. Surely you've earned a reward? Perhaps a hearty breakfast? Something warm,
tasty, and soothing. But wait, this is medieval Europe. Comfort is a luxury few can afford. Breakfast, if we dare call it that, is a dreary experience. Forget about poached eggs, coffee brewing, or trendy avocado toast. Instead, you'll settle for a wooden bowl filled with what could easily be mistaken for something scraped off a muddy boot. A delightful serving of pottage. This is a thick, murky stew prepared from whatever scraps are available. Grains, root vegetables, and occasionally some beans if luck is on your side. This concoction has likely been simmering in the same pot for days, sometimes weeks, as fresh ingredients get piled on top of aging remnants. It's less a recipe and more an ongoing culinary experiment gone rogue. And as for bread, you'll receive a hunk so hard it could withstand an arrow. Crafted from coarse rye or barley flour, often supplemented with sawdust, crushed acorns, or other inventive fillers, as wheat is merely a dream for the affluent, this loaf isn't something you slice, you have to negotiate with it. And when it comes to drinks?
So, you've managed that sad medieval breakfast, and now it's time to get dressed. Not that it'll make much of a difference. Your wardrobe consists of just one outfit. That's right, one. It's a rough wool tunic or linen shift you've been wearing every day, possibly for months, maybe years. Seasonal fashion? Not a thing. You wear this until it falls apart or starts giving you a nasty rash. Underwear? Optional. If you're lucky, you might have a linen undertunic. If not, you're going commando underneath layers of scratchy, sweaty wool, all stitched together by someone who may not have had the faintest clue what they were doing. There's also a lack of washing machines, no soap, and absolutely no dry cleaner in sight. So your garments are marked, stiff, and smell like a compost heap that's been left to stew in a pig pen. Even if you wished to clean them, it's not a simple task. You'd need to carry water from a river or, alternatively, boil it over a fire, scrub your tunic on a board with ashes, or lay it out to dry in the sun, which shines about 3 days a year. And don't even get me started on footwear. If you have any, they're crafted from untreated leather, barely stitched together, and provide as much arch support as a banana peel. Most peasants simply go barefoot through mud, dung, and medieval hazards, also known as sharp stones and disease-filled puddles. All of this means one thing: your skin is in torment. You itch incessantly. Fleas, lice, and bedbugs live rent-free on your body. Everyone has them: nobles, miserable monks, restless children, and walking insect colonies. No one escapes. You'll be scratching your armpit with a wooden spoon while conversing with a local priest, and no one will even blink. Your skin is sore from constant rubbing. Your scalp is a battleground of bites, and if you happen to develop a rash, well, tough luck. There's no dermatologist, no hydrocortisone, no one to inform you it's likely scabies. You just continue to endure. And if you're fortunate enough to avoid an infection, great. That rash will merely stick around for the next 6 months like an unwanted medieval companion. Now that you're donned in discomfort and enveloped in misery, it's time to step outside and start working yourself to exhaustion. Now that you're fully dressed in itches and damp wool, it's time to put on that morning smile. Except you don't, because in the Middle Ages, smiling is a risky endeavor, not emotionally, but dentally. There's no toothbrush, no toothpaste, no mouthwash, no floss. The idea of oral hygiene is as popular as bathing, which is to say, not at all. Some people might chew on a twig or rinse with wine or vinegar, but for the most part, your teeth are left to fend for themselves, and they're not faring well. By the time you reach your mid-20s, your smile resembles something dragged from a haunted crypt. Cavities are widespread, gums are inflamed, and those aren't just food stains on your teeth. That's decay. You have more rot in your mouth than a medieval root cellar. Sugar, while not yet ubiquitous, is becoming increasingly common among the affluent. Imported at a significant expense, primarily utilized in small cakes or as a display of affluence. If you belong to the nobility, congratulations! You are destined to decay your teeth more rapidly than the common folk. Conversely, if you are impoverished, you will experience this deterioration gradually over time through fermented bread, coarse porridge, and years of strenuous chewing. Toothaches, prepare to become accustomed to them. They are akin to the unpredictable weather of the medieval era, perpetually present in the background. This type of discomfort may lead you to contemplate praying, drinking, or extracting the tooth yourself with a pair of pliers. This is not a jest. That was indeed the standard remedy. Dentists were virtually non-existent, but barber surgeons were prevalent. Yes, the very individual who trims your hair is also extracting your teeth by candlelight using an iron hook and without any anesthesia. An infected tooth? Prepare for fevers. Lacking antibiotics, it could swiftly escalate to sepsis and result in death from a toothache. Indeed, the same element that prompts a visit to a pharmacy today could have been your demise in the 1300s. Furthermore, there is no respite on the social front. Kissing? Good luck. Halitosis or bad breath is ubiquitous. If you are single, your worth is not assessed by your smile, but by your land and livestock. In short, your mouth is a battleground, and it's losing the fight. Now that your teeth are pulsating with pain, let us venture outside. Your true labor, the one that will exhaust you, is just beginning. It is time to go to work. But there's no office, no desk, no coffee break, and no possibility of advancement. Your occupation, if you resemble 90% of the population, is straightforward. Do not die while toiling for someone else's comfort. You are a peasant. Congratulations. That means you cultivate the land owned by a lord who likely doesn't remember your name. You wake up with the sun and cease until it vanishes behind the trees. Your intimates are consistent of a wooden hoe, a rusted sickle, and whatever bones remain intact in your body. There is no weekend, there is no clocking out, there is only the cycle from sunrise to sunset, 6 days a week. Sunday is a day of rest, but only if you are not engaged in harvesting, defending against raiders, or fervently praying for your infected toe to cease its darkening. The labor is harsh. Fields are cultivated manually or with oxen, provided you possess sufficient wealth to own one. You excavate ditches, plant seeds, remove weeds, and carry water until your spine becomes curved into the shape of the letter S. No one is concerned about your fatigue. No one asks about your mental health. If you are a woman, surprise awaits you. You are not limited to agricultural tasks. You also tend to children. You clean, cook, spin wool, feed livestock, and pretend to be ignorant of your husband's life problem that is gradually encroaching upon your side of the bed. Children begin assisting around the age of 5. There is no schooling, no toys, just a small wooden rake and a hope of one day escaping the threat of dying from the flu. And if you happen to be among the few who are not farmers, perhaps you are a blacksmith, a tanner, or a coper, which is commendable, but you still toil with fire, chemicals, or animal intestines throughout the day in inadequately ventilated workshops. The compensation is essentially for survival. The benefits, the occasional injury, and if you break a bone, too bad for you. If you develop a fever, consume some warm beer and persist. Stopping is not an option, not even for a single day, because if you cease working, you forfeit your meals. And if you don't eat, well, medieval Europe has a remedy for that. It's known as being replaced. So you grab your shovel, ignore the blisters, and continue digging. In the Middle Ages, your occupation is not a profession. It's a long test of endurance. Now that your back is on fire from laboring in the fields, let's talk about the weather. In the Middle Ages, temperature is less about the seasons and more about relentless punishment from the heavens. Let us begin with winter. There is no insulation, no central heating, and no weatherproofing. Just wooden walls with gaps large enough to throw a chicken through. Your windows are covered with cloth, not glass. The fire in the hearth is pleasant in theory, but you lack sufficient firewood to keep it going because wood is expensive and collecting it from the forest is occasionally illegal. Indeed, you can be executed for picking the wrong stick from an inappropriate forest. You wrap yourself in your single damp wool tunic, crouch beside the fading embers, and still awaken with a frozen nose. Your feet are perpetually cold, frequently damp. Your fingers are so rigid they resemble tiny medieval popsicles. Frostbite is not formally diagnosed. It is simply referred to as bad luck. Now, let's advance to summer. It appears more favorable, doesn't it? Incorrect. During summer, your dwelling transforms into a clay oven. There's no fan, no cross breeze, and absolutely no deodorant. You sweat through your layers, yet you can't remove them because exposing too much skin is deemed scandalous and also invites sunburn, insect bites, and social scrutiny. Flies swarm in abundance, drawn to your unwashed body and the odor of last week's goat stew that continues to ferment in the corner. Mosquitoes buzz around your ear as you attempt to sleep, assuming you can manage to rest amid the noise of your neighbors shouting and babies crying. In the fields, the sun scorches you. There's no sunblock, no hat, unless you have crafted one from straw like a desperate scarecrow, and the most unfortunate aspect is that you are still required to work. Heat stroke is just referred to as taking a bad turn. So you find yourself either shivering in your own hovel, contemplating whether your toes will survive until spring, or sweating through your sole pair of socks while your thighs chafe mercilessly. And one constant remains regardless of the season. Your clothes continue to itch, your food remains dreadful, and your next job is still pending. Welcome to climate control, medieval style. It doesn't exist. Are you feeling parched? Do you want to rejuvenate yourself? Do you want to splash some water on your face to awaken from this damp fever dream of existence? Unfortunately, in medieval times, water is not your ally. It is quietly plotting your demise. Let's begin with drinking. The nearby stream appears fresh, bubbling and clear, reminiscent of a scene from a fantasy film. But spoiler alert, it's not as it seems. Upstream, someone has just disposed of a chamber pot into it. If that is not the case, then a dead pig is likely decomposing within. Parasites, bacteria, and the entire microbial army of medieval Europe await an early sip. This is why people opted for beer.